Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to GarageBand Weekly on Studio Live today. On this week's show, we're talking tariffs because that's all we have to talk about. Hello, I hope you're doing well wherever you are around the world on this wonderful Tuesday morning or Monday evening. I'm Pete Johns, and for the next hour or thereabouts, we'll be talking about all things GarageBand, Apple, AirPods, music creation, Macs, you name it. In fact, I encourage you to name it because if you've got questions, I would love to hear from you. All you need to do is put a Q in front of your comment here in the live chat, and I will be happy to at least attempt to answer your questions. And the good thing is, we've got other live folks here on the live stream who can also help you out. So please go ahead and ask your questions. If I can't answer them, someone here probably can. We'll say good day to the folks who are here in the live chat in just a jiffy. But we're going to jump into some news and notes. We're going to check out some things. But firstly, Thomas Christ has reminded me, as he does on most shows, that we need to let you know. Oh, we've got the inflated comment cube going on here again. I updated my Ecamm Live, and it seems to have tweaked a few of my settings. So a little inside baseball behind. That's a really wide one. A little bit of behind the scenes inside baseball stuff. There you go. Let's stick that one down there. That looks a bit more manageable. So yes, as Thomas Christ says, and as we can finally show there, please go ahead and head over to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. That is your one-stop shop for all things GarageBand related. And I'll show you, in fact, because I've got a little button here that I can press that will show you my screen. Is that the right one? Yes, it is. Except it's not going there. Why am I not going to my own website? Yeah, this is the well-oiled machine that you've come to expect around here at Studio Live today. So I promise you that usually when you go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you get a wonderful list of videos and playlists and all the cool things that you can check out. You can also donate to the channel. Always welcome, never expected, and you can become a patron or join the membership here as well. Let's say hi. Before we dive into the news and notes, let's say hi to the folks who are here live. Hello to Thomas Christ, our wonderful moderator. Hello to Clayton Von Kluge. Yeah, look, I can't fix everything. Anyone that tells you that they know everything usually knows nothing. Just a small hint for new players there. Hello to Ed Z. Hello to Mark Bro. Geez, who will we? I know Canada got elections going on. Australia about to have elections going on. It's a political time. I know we don't talk politics specifically on this show, but yeah, it is that time of the year for both Canada and Australia going through that. Hello to Al Davis Music at a Studio 6+1. Hello to you. So we will dive in and talk about some things. If my internet is going to work, because for some reason my website sure ain't. That's always a plus, isn't it? When you start a stream and your own website won't work. Look, let's rip the Band-Aid off, shall we, and talk tariffs. Tariffs part, I put in the rundown there. Tariffs part 27, because who knows? It changes every week. At the moment, at this point in time, tariffs have been paused pretty much across the board, but in particular on things with semiconductors, with chips in them. So any of your Apple gear, if you're racing out to buy it, you probably don't have to super hurry, but they've been paused for 90 days, and we're already like nearly 20 days into the 90-day pause. So I would not dilly-dally. Yeah, no malarkey here today, but I wouldn't dilly-dally and take too long to go ahead and buy your gear, especially if you're in the US, because a lot of the stuff that you buy, look around your room right now, and you'll be probably not surprised, but you probably already know this, but check out where most of your stuff is made. Look underneath it, and it's probably going to say made in China. And the stuff that's made in China has probably got chips that were made in Taiwan. So all that stuff is going to be heavily tariffed. Excuse me there. And as we know, tariffs are a ridiculous way to tax goods, because instead of the tax being paid by the exporting country, they're paid by the importing country. And when I say paid by the importing country, they're passed on to you as a consumer. So the company ain't going to be eating it. And we talked about it last week that Apple haven't said anything. They've been very quiet, except they've done a couple of things. They've got a very, very large shipments of gear coming in from China right now. They are indeed stockpiling Macs and iPads and accessories and gear, which again hasn't been officially reported, but it's hard to hide planes and trucks and shipments of things. And they've also said that all of the US iPhones in the future, or at least has been reported, will come out of India, which are going to have lower tariffs. So if you're not aware at the moment, there are iPhones made in China, the vast majority at Foxconn, but they've also expanded out to India and to South America in Brazil. The main reason being that in India and Brazil, they already had very high tariffs for products that were being imported from other countries. So Apple was smart and said, hey, these are two big markets. Let's put a factory in India and a factory in Brazil, and let's make sure that all the iPhones sold in India and Brazil are made in India and Brazil. So they have the opportunity there to ramp up, or at least attempt to ramp up production in India, just to add a bit of padding there so that they can still ship out of China to, countries like Canada and Australia that are reasonable and that aren't adding stupid, ridiculous tariffs to consumer products. But if anything that's going into the US, they'll send from the lowest tariffed place. And yes, this is all made up administrative, pardon my French, bullshit created by one person. And we all know who that is. They shall not be named. Hello, Fat Panda Cat. Hello, Oofsy Barber, who was very kind on the show yesterday on Your Music Live. Gave away 5 memberships, so some of you may be a member now. Yeah, exactly. I don't think so. So this is the thing. It is a game of chicken at the moment. China certainly aren't going to back down. Australia, Australia said when the 10% tariffs were announced for our stuff that we wouldn't be retaliating because our Prime Minister said he won't do that because that would directly impact Australian consumers. So, yeah, guess what? Some politicians understand it. Some get it that tariffs are actually something that will impact your people and not other people. It is very, very silly. Yes, they'd have to ramp way up. Exactly, and they'd probably have to sacrifice some of the Indian market. So they may take a hit, and this is a problem. This is if you're sitting comfortably in Canada or Australia or the UK or somewhere else, and you're thinking this doesn't affect me. Yeah. This does affect you because what does a company do when they have to suddenly put their prices up? Are they going to put it up 150% in the US and 0% in the UK, Canada, and Australia? No, no, that's not what a company would choose to do. They will try and protect as much as they can by increasing it by the smallest amount they can and spreading out that increase. And again, this is a private company. They don't have to justify it. They can make as much retail margin as they like, so they can increase the retail margin they make in other countries. So they might even run at a loss. They might even say, we still need to sell iPhones and iPads and Macs in the US. We'll run at a loss for a short period of time, and we'll pad that out by increasing the prices. And guess what? Once prices increase, how often do they go back down again? Yeah, it's like inflation. It's like the egg thing. And remember after Cove times when all the supermarkets put all their prices up of things, and they're like, oh, it's supply chain issues, and then the supply chain became completely fixed, and the prices stayed the same. And if they didn't stay the same, they used shrinkflation to trick us. I bought some paracetamol tablets the other day, and the packets are looking ridiculous now. They used to be 24 packs, so they used to have 12. I know we're going way off. Should be called Tangent, the live show. But they used to have 24. Then they went to 20, which meant that there was like on each thing that used to hold 12, the 2 middle bits are gone. They're now 16. So it's got to the point now where there's more blank space on the thing. It's still the same size packet to make you think you're getting the same, but the pills are just around the outside. And I'm like if I take one sleeve, I've only got 8. Like that's like anyway. So yeah, shrinkflation is the other bad things. Yeah, and also not only the prices but supplies. So just like the toilet paper at the Cove times, people are going to start buying up. As soon as they think that tariffs are going to hit, we've already started to see shortage of some products. The the Nintendo Switch 2 has probably, at first people thought, oh, this is going to be bad for it because the price is going to go up. They managed to keep the price the same, but everyone's buying it because no one trusts that the price will stay at $450. So everyone that can possibly pre-order is pre-ordering their Switch 2. And if you haven't pre-ordered your Switch 2, you're probably not getting one for a while. It's going to be the PS5 all over again, where you're going to go. Yeah, sorry. I promise we'll talk about some more positive things. We'll talk headphones in a while, but yeah. Right, let's. The WWDC's coming up. That's only a bit over a month away, so that's June 9 to 13. If you don't know, this is where Apple lay out their plans for the future. And last year, what were their plans? Apple Intelligence, baby. Apple Intelligence is going to change the way we work. It's going to change what we do. You're going to have an intelligent assistant in your hand, in the palm of your hand. Your phone is going to be able to, yeah. So what's actually happened since then? We've got Image Playground, which is fun, but not exactly world changing. We've got some writing tools, which are basically like ChatGPT Lite, and we've got the updates to Siri, where when Siri can't answer a question, which, let's be honest, she usually can't, she tells you that she can go and check ChatGPT. And sorry, I didn't mean to say the S word. Because your phones have probably all started going ping, ping, ping. Because yeah, every time you say the S word, I usually say bugalug. And yeah, as Ed said here, look, it's been very clear, and I've talked about this before. And again, for all the people that say I'm an Apple fan person and I must be being paid by Apple just to say nice things about Apple, I absolutely don't. As you'll hear shortly in my talk about these headphones. I don't love absolutely everything that Apple does. And in this case, I think that there was a massive disconnect between their marketing team and their engineering team. And look, I've worked for companies where this happens because the marketing team want to be all woo-woo and on the front foot and excited about the things that they're going to do and change and happen. And then the engineers just say, excuse me, Mr. Marketing person, we can't deliver that at all. All that stuff you said that we could do, we can't do. There's a whole thing in tendering. If you've ever been part of tendering processes, we were tendering, a company I worked for was tendering for a new software, a new SaaS product, software as a service. And we had 3 different companies. And one of them was saying, yeah, you can do this, but you can't do that. You can do this, but you can't do that. And then the other one, every time we asked a question, they're like, oh, our team will be able to implement changes to assist with that. And I'm like, the way you worded that is weird. And unfortunately, they completely won over my, at the time, boss, who went with them instead of the practical people that could deliver well on about 80% of our requirements. These people said, oh, yes, we will be able to, we'll be able to workshop this and get these things in place for you. Guess what? The one that looked all shiny was completely overpromised and under-delivered. And we spent the next 3 years constantly asking for the feature updates that we had been promised by the marketing people. Because guess what? As soon as we hit the actual engineers instead of the marketers, it was a very different story. They're like, why did they promise you we could do that? We've never been able to do that. So, yeah, it can be rough, can't it? Yes. Yeah, the future of GarageBand. We did that last week. I think it's good. I think it's good. All righty. I got your question too, Clayton. We'll answer that when we get to some Q&A in just a jiffy. iOS 18.4.1 is upon us. The point 1 doesn't really do much. Again, security updates, bug fixes. Haven't heard of any 0-day stuff. So if you're on 18.4, you're still good. If you're on 18.32, you probably want to update to 18.4. I haven't seen or heard any major problems for any music creators. GarageBand already had bugs, and it will have bugs whether you're on 18.3 or 18.4. So if you've already dived into 18 and updated your GarageBand, you will have those weird bugs like the auto scroll bug and the automation bug, which I've covered in videos here on the channel. If you want workarounds of those, make sure you checked out my recent videos on those bugs, how to work around them, and please report your bugs. I know it's an extra step. It might take you an extra 2 or 3 minutes to report your bugs, but please report your bugs, folks, because they don't know what they don't know. And the Apple engineers aren't sitting there using GarageBand. In fact, they don't know as much about GarageBand and how it works in the real world as you do. And I don't care who you are. If you've opened GarageBand in the last week, they're working on future features and bug fixes and security things. They're not sitting there testing it out and using it in real world scenarios. So you need to, if you want to, if you don't care that much, that's fine. Leave it to us, to folks that are a bit more pedantic. But I highly recommend that you learn how to do that one. Last update, bricked my phone. That is not good. What happened? Tell us the story, Cam. Go into detail. Go into explicit detail about what actually happened, because and hopefully by bricking you mean you needed to restore it, and hopefully needing to restore it is a good reminder. Folks, have a backup of your iPhone and your iPad. I know some folks will say you only get 200 megabytes, and that's not enough to back up all my phones and all my iPads and all my Macs and everything. And I get it, and I pay for extra storage through iCloud. And I know not everyone will want to do that, but the times it saved me has been worth it. And I pay $14.99 a month. In fact, I pay $14.99 and $54 a month because I got Apple One and I have an extra 2 terabytes as well. So I have 4 terabytes of iCloud storage, but I'm an edge case, right? I'm running 2 Macs, 2 phones, and 3 iPads at all times. So plus my family. So my family all have iPhones, and 2 of them have iPads. So yeah, we've got a lot of gear. So about 2 terabytes is just backups of my stuff, of my phones, of iPads, and my family's gear. So yeah, do have a backup of your things, because you do not want to. If you do have problems, or if you do have issues with that, you do want to make sure that you can retrieve it, because to be honest, that's one of the good things about Apple, is that unlike, so when I used to use Windows, when I used to use Nokia smartphones, you had to plug them into something to back them up. The cloud backups back in those days were terrible. Since I moved to Apple, early on it was bad because you used to have to do that thing where you did like an iTunes backup, and you saved the backup to your computer, and it would almost always become corrupted when you tried to restore it. These days, puts it in the cloud and it works, and it just backs up. And then when you have a problem, like when my daughter's phone went into a reboot loop and we had to buy her a new phone, it was no issue because it had been backed up the day before. All of her important teenage stuff was still there. I agree. All I want from GarageBand iOS is to turn off auto normalization and better guitar sounds. Agreed. Yes, I was ranting on, I think, a Jade Star stream the other day about the fact that, I think it was when she had Ed Z on, that I'm like, they can make apps. There are 17 different 808 apps. There's 52 different noise generators, 14,000 compressors. And not one single good quality guitar simulator on iOS. Yet, there are, what is it, the Ample Sound ones? Thomas Christ will know. There's some great ones that are VSTs and AUs for Mac and for PC. Old mate Mike over at Creative Sources has showed them, and you can get really good, really realistic guitar sounds. And we've got realistic pianos. They've sampled a grand piano, for goodness sake, a Steinway. The piano you have in GarageBand, I don't know if you know this, but the piano that you have in GarageBand is, sorry, I've got to plug something in over here, is a sampled Steinway, a beautifully recorded stereo recording of a Steinway grand piano. Why can't they grab a Taylor or a Martin acoustic guitar and sample that in the same way? Makes no sense. Hello to Hugo. I'm sure oh, that's cool. That's cool. I live on an island. It's weird. A blackout is happening here. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, hopefully you're able to keep creating, and hope anything that I've done around here can actually help out. Then that's a good thing. Righty. Let us come down. So yeah, question from Ufsibaba. I'll answer that as well too when we get to the question section. So Deep Gravity, it started not using facial recognition to open. I had to use my PIN, and then everything started going slow. Battery was being used really fast, and after 24 hours, no apps worked at all. Yeah, right. That's bad. That sounds like hardware related stuff. Hopefully you can go to an Apple store. Let us know if you do go to an Apple store, then and find out what happens. I love hearing stories, because usually you manage to do a restore. Well, hopefully that has at least helped, or if not fixed the problem. Alrighty. What else do we have here? I was not sure whether to cover this, but I wanted to because I know many of you watch and enjoy a lot of the same content as I do. I'm a giant nerd, and you guys, many of you are giant nerds as well. And there's something that happened to one of my favorite creators. So they made a video. Which is fine. People can make videos, but the 8-bit guy, if you don't know David, the 8-bit guy, he made a self-driving car does it work video, which is fine. On the surface, that sounds all good and okay. But it was, look, I'm taking away that. That was my initial reaction. I'm going to give it a thumbs up anyway. No, I'm going to give it a nothing because I don't want to be involved. Um, so it was about a Tesla. Right. So he made a video about self-driving. And as soon as I saw the thumbnail and as soon as I started watching this video, I just went, oh, David, mate, wrong topic, wrong timing. Not cool. And it kind of got me thinking about this because I've gone I've gone back and forth on whether a creator should be able to create what they want to do and put what they want out to the world, and they shouldn't be judged on that, versus you need to be sensitive to the current climate, whether it's a political climate or any other sort of internet climate. I hate the idea of people being cancelled and people being trolled and doxed and all that stuff, and I do not condone or encourage that. Again, I didn't mean to put the thumbs down. I think that was me watching it in a fit of rage and just going, David, you did the wrong thing. But I don't get behind any of that stuff, except I do think people say to me, "Oh, well, then you don't believe in freedom of speech or free speech if you think people shouldn't make the stuff they want to make," and that's not the case at all. I just think that freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequence, and I think in this case, unfortunately, um, David's got some pretty strong negative reactions to the video, which on the surface is okay. And what I'd hoped that would happen is that David would come back and maybe either remove the video or make a follow-up video explaining a little bit, or put a pinned comment there just saying, "Oh, look, maybe I didn't read the room. Maybe the climate's the wrong time to be doing this sort of thing." And look, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe the whole internet's overreacting to this sort of stuff. But it just made me think because I think a lot of us that are YouTube creators, especially in the nerdier segments like sectors like, music. Music's not super nerdy, but a lot of us music people are also nerds, as well as, technology and old technology. And I looked at a lot of the channels, and if you look at the 8-bit guy, look at Technology Connections, you look at TechMoan, a lot of the way they present their information, and they've all sort of mentioned this before, that they were giant nerds back when you got your lunch money stolen and you got beaten up and you got abused for being into sci-fi and D&D and playing chess and liking being in the AV club. And now that stuff's all cool, but I think these people are still kind of carrying that with them, because just the way that they're presenting information and the way they're talking about things, from time to time, you just get that feeling. So Techmoan's classic for it. As much as I love Matt from Techmoan, he's a whinger. I mean, it's in the name, isn't it? But he's such a whinger. He's like, "Oh, the people in the comments will already be telling me I don't know how to solder, and will already be telling me this." And I'm like, dude, just do your thing. Like, don't worry so much about that. But it's pretty clear that these folks are carrying with them the trauma from before, and it just reminded me again. I don't think you can't put the genie back in the bottle and you can't take back what you've done, but it did reinforce and it reminded me that there are consequences to what you put out there on the internet. And if I right now wrote a song called Teslas Are Rad, I know exactly what the reaction is that I would get. And I would deserve all the reactions. Just as if I wrote a song called Trump Sucks, I know exactly what the reaction I would get from what people and how that would work. So I think the argument that, oh, I didn't know, I was just making a video about self-driving cars, is not really the right response, and it's not really the right defense for that. I don't know. So yeah, I didn't want to go on about it, and I didn't want to make it more than it is. But yeah, it was just sad to see, and it reminded me, yeah, don't be cruel to people, don't dox people. I just left one comment just saying, David, look, I've supported you for a long time. I really like your content. I just think that you missed the mark on this one, so maybe reconsider. But other people were much less kind. Yeah, reading the room is kind of important, isn't it? Yeah. I think it might just be old school British self. Yeah, exactly. Tech definitely has that old school British, but he also gets like pissy with his commenters, and I'm like, those are the people that are watching the ads that are paying your bills, my friend. But I get it. I get it. Someone already wrote a thank you Elon song. Jeebus. Yeah. That'll be and look, and that's the thing that you go to, isn't it? You instantly go, yeah. What was it deliberate? You can't. Smart dude. I can't imagine that you wouldn't have known exactly what was going to happen. And look, the defense they made was, look, I bought the Tesla 2 years ago. The video's been in production since 2024. I don't think that makes it better. I mean, Elon started buying Twitter in April of 2023, and we already knew before that all the things he was doing. So yeah, no bueno. Let's move on. Let's move on to some questions, and then we'll chat about our feature topic and a few other tidbits here. Question, no tangents. Do you know why I'm having issues with opening songs from iCloud on an old 8 Plus? Says I need a newer version of GarageBand, and that's not possible. Yeah, so that is a problemo that you are going to face if you have an older device that can't update to the newest version of GarageBand. And the reason that it won't be able to update to the newest version is because you won't be able to be on iOS 18. So iPhone 8s have capped out at iOS 17. And if you say have an iPad like this one running GarageBand in iOS 18, you then can't open that project on an iPhone that's running iOS 17 because the version of GarageBand will be the previous version. If you need to find your version of GarageBand, the way to do that is to go into your Settings app. So just swipe down and type in Settings and jump into your Settings app. And then over here on the left, if you are on an older version, you won't have this apps button. All the apps will be listed there, but on the newer version, you have the apps button. So these will all be over here. They just moved them over here. And then if you go to GarageBand or just tap G and go to GarageBand, you'll be able to see. So what you're probably finding, Clayton, is that when you check your version here, 2.3.17 is the latest version of GarageBand. If you're on 2.3.16, which was the last version compatible with iOS 17, they won't open. So your 16s will open on your version 17, but your 17s won't open on version 16, if that makes sense, which is an important thing as well, making sure that if you want to work on something that's on your iPhone, don't open that project and save it in a newer version if you want to be able to go back. Basically, as soon as you open and save it in the newer version, it removes the ability to use it on your older device, because it'll say exactly what you're getting. You need the newer version of GarageBand, which you won't be able to use and you won't be able to install because you'll be using the older version. So be careful with that stuff. It's a trap because, unfortunately, yeah, we hit this same sort of thing with older gear. So my iPhone, my original iPad that I used, iPad 4, 4th gen, it got capped out at iOS 9. And that was also the point where the GarageBand version of that one had no real way to share properly. The only way to kind of share your projects back then was to plug it in and transfer it to a computer. So back then I was using Windows, so I had to plug in and I copied over all of my GarageBand projects, and I have them somewhere. They're on an old Windows backup drive, but unfortunately these days the problem is that you don't have the ability to do that. So unless you have a computer and you've got the right cable, and in those days it was the old 9-pin cable to USB, and I had to plug it in, and you had to fire it up and to put it into disk mode, and then it was a mess. So, in your opinion, to the extent you may know, is it worth buying more expensive earbuds? So let's talk. We are going to get to headphone talk in a moment, but earbuds. Let's talk. For music production, earbuds are generally not the best choice. So, why is that? Earbuds often have bass boost because they are small. So let's think about like whether you are using wired or wireless, and I have both here. So if you're using wireless earbuds for music listening, fantastic. Bluetooth, no problem. For music creation, you may already know this, but Bluetooth is garbage. And well, it's better. It used to be absolute garbage. Now it's just regular garbage. It used to stink, now it just is a little bit pongy. But the reason is latency. So latency, the delay between what you hear and what's actually happening on the screen. So there's one. If you're talking about your wired earbuds, they're better. So they're better for recording because if you can plug them in, and yes, you need a dongle adapter thing here because nothing's got a headphone jack anymore. But if you can plug them in, you're not going to get that latency. So there's nothing wrong at all. And in fact, I use these as like an in-ear monitor for recording, and I've got a video coming up where I show you how to do that and how you can record directly onto your iPhone or iPad just using the built-in mic, which is actually pretty good. So you can plug a pair of wired earbuds in and then record directly. Problem is, if you've got ones like these that have a microphone built in, it'll use that microphone. So you need to specifically get headphones that don't have a microphone built in, which can be hard to come across these days. Have you tried to actually source headphones that don't have a mic? Everyone wants the headsets, don't they? So yeah, you kind of have to go to eBay or Amazon and dig through and find some cheapy earbuds that don't have a microphone. So that's sort of where you're at with earbuds. And the reason that you want to go with actual over-ear headphones is that you get a flatter frequency response. There's no bass boost. You can hear that's why we call them monitor headphones, is because you can monitor the audio. It's not going to boost your treble or your bass or do anything to the sound. Whereas if you're using earbuds, yeah. So the question of expensive versus cheap really comes down to your music listening and your preferences and how important that is to you. I tend to go, if I'm using wired earbuds, I go mid-range. I like JBLs. They seem to go well. And for wireless, I go the Apple AirPods. They are premium, but you get what you pay for. JBL also makes some good wireless earbuds that I've used in the past, the Endurance Run and the Street and other ones. So yeah, there's options out there. But yeah, and look, in-ear monitors when tracking vocals works a treat. And then you get into the whole actual in-ear monitors like IEMs, which are wired, don't have a microphone, and they're from like if you get some from Shure or a brand like an actual music production brand, they're different again. They're like what folks you see wearing on stage. They're usually wearing in-ear monitors, IEMs, and that's different again from earbuds. That's more so you can hear yourself. They're like the equivalent of foldbacks. So remember when bands used to play, they'd have foldbacks, so they'd have speakers going out to the crowd, but you wouldn't be able to hear that if you were playing, because if you're playing at the front, you're just getting blasted by the drummers. You can't hear the vocals and the bass and the guitar. So you've got those fold-back speakers that point to you. They tend to use them less these days, and performers tend to use IEMs in-ear monitors, which are good. Thomas says, I really don't like earbuds, but I would like to get a pair of in-ears to try out on camera. Yeah, and I've tried that. So I do have some Shure in-ears, which you can put in, and then I ran the cable down my back and plugged it in. And look, they worked, but they were really uncomfortable. And I think that's the thing with in-ear monitors is I only bought the cheap ones, like the $70, $80 Shures. If you bought like 400, some of the in-ear monitors you buy for like hundreds of dollars actually come with like a molding kit where you put them in like hot water or something and then you stick them in your ear and they form into the crevices of your ear canal. And yes, and it's some again, like the thousands of dollars ones, you literally go to like an audiologist and they actually custom make them for you. So I think you're going far down there. Have the AirPods Pro 2. Yeah, so that's what these are, the AirPods Pro 2, and I love them. They go everywhere with me, and I'll tell you a bit more about them as well. The Sennheiser HD660s and Donna monitor ear. There you go. There's some recommendations for you from Ufsi Baba. Phil Gone, g'day to you. Joel Crouch, g'day to you. Good to see you all here for the rant show. I know this is the one where we go off on the tangents, and we've been quite tangential already here today. All righty. Let's run a quick ad because it got to pay some bills. So if you'd like to avoid such ads, you may become a YouTube Premium subscriber. But an ad is running right now, and I will have a quick sip of iced coffee today. There we go. So thank you, Clayton. I've got your question again as well. Do I have any knowledge of using GarageBand on PC, Windows, or Linux? I don't, but I did a video literally a week ago. So if you go to the archives, I did a big rant about why it's not available. And I know you mentioned Hackintosh. So yeah, the only way you can use GarageBand on non-Apple hardware is to actually install Mac OS using a virtual machine, which is possible and feasible. It does a couple of things though. It does breach the terms of service of the Apple software, meaning sometimes it doesn't update properly when there's updates if it detects that you're not using Apple hardware. And the other problem is because you're running it via a virtual machine, it can slow down the performance and it can have issues with latency, with the quality of audio, with plugging in USB devices, with running drivers for those devices. So my recommendation is always use something else. In terms of, there's some great software for PC. There's Reaper, there's um, BandLab, there's Cakewalk, there's Persona Studio One or Pro Tools if you want to pay for something. So there's better options than trying to hack your way to GarageBand on a different system. Again, that's my 2 cents. And I've put the challenge out there. Every time I cover that topic, I put the challenge out and I say, hey, if anyone gets this up and running, I would love to see it. And I still haven't. I've seen people show me screenshots of it running, and I'm like, I want to see it and hear it. Like, it's one thing to get a piece of software running, like GarageBand running on a Hackintosh, because yes, a virtual machine, and then you install GarageBand, and then it's running. But what about using? What does the audio sound like? How is the buffer? Like, does the buffer overflow? What's the delay and the latency like? How are the USB devices when you plug in a USB audio interface or a MIDI keyboard? So, yeah. Is there a way to autoplay a guitar sound on an AUV3 instrument? Autoplay a guitar sound. I mean, yeah, some apps have autoplay, I think. Um, there's not there's not really any apps that have great guitar sounds. And autoplay is really only for GarageBand. What you could do, let's say you had an app like Scalar, I think does this, where it puts in a MIDI pattern. You could then take that MIDI pattern and put that on another instrument, like, or you could play an autoplay. So you could get an instrument, you could do a bunch of different things. Let's say you used one of those sound library like apps, and you threw that on there. What were the old ones like that were made by IK Multimedia? There was one that was I used to use it all the time, and it was really big and bloated and didn't work that well. Anyway, that you could use that, and then you could autoplay like in a regular piano instrument, and then you could move that MIDI over to the other sound. But yeah. Tell you what, guitar sounds in iOS, get a guitarist. Work with a guitarist and start collaborating. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. I just think that it's kind of not worth it. Yeah, and Deep Gravity says I bought a MacBook Pro 2020 and patched for a later release of OS to run GarageBand with $60. There you go. So yeah, you can get yourself a used MacBook or even iPad. Fat Panda Cat built a Hackintosh back in the day. It works, but it's not stable. And since Apple stopped using Intel chips, a Hackintosh isn't really relevant now. Yeah, that's the thing. It used to be easier when Apple was on Intel because obviously your regular PCs are running on an Intel chip. Now that Apple have moved towards their own custom silicon, it's created even more of a barrier of that. But yeah. Maybe, did you have a video of it back in the day? Probably not. I wish I had. I wish I had videos of all the different projects and nerdy stuff I used to do back in the day. It would be fun to look back upon. Do we have any other questions? Let's see. Not really a question, but a comment. I can record myself playing Machine Muck 3 with iRig 2 audio interface and iPhone 6s. Nice. Quality audio and video was sort of okay. Nice. And any thoughts why I run everything through an old Yamaha mixer, then a Scarlett audio? I might have missed the start of that question, Clayton. You might need to re-ask it if there was parts of that. Because I missed the opening. I didn't flag the opening one. If you export a song via GarageBand iOS as a project instead of a song, does it still auto normalize? No, it doesn't because it's only exporting the project. Let's do it. Let's do it as a bit of a wee test here, shall we? So we'll go to GarageBand. I will show you my screen in a sec. I realize it's not showing. But I just need to get into the share section so that I can go project. So what is being asked here is if we go here and you go share song and you go project, and I'm just going to jump off here because it does show stuff on my share sheet, such as phone numbers and things that I don't want it to show. So we'll come back over to here. So yeah, if you do it this way, it doesn't auto-normalize because it doesn't actually render out the project file. So it is a good way if you wanted to, but the problem is you have to export it as a song to get the actual mixed down audio. Unless you could dive into the file. See, I don't know, back in the day, I did some experimentation with this where, because what you can do, basically every time you export, see, no, because that would have the auto normalization. So I was sort of thinking out loud here, but when you export this, so say we go save this to files, it's just saving it. Like, there's actually no point these days. Like the share project was something that you'd used back in the day before we had the Files app. So believe it or not, in iOS 11, iOS 10, we didn't have a Files app at all. So there was no way. So you basically were in GarageBand and you saw all your projects and then you could export them as a song. Or if you wanted to say airdrop it to someone else or what we could do back then, you could save it to a Mac or like to your computer. You could sync it up through iTunes if you wanted to share the project. There weren't many ways. You could share it to another app. Like there wasn't much you could do to share as opposed to now where it's just a file. So yeah, and what it does do is every time you export it as a song, it adds a copy of that. That's why if you've got a project and you've been playing around with it and you've done, Final Mix 1, Final Mix 2, Final Mix 3, seriously this time, and you keep exporting it, then going back and tweaking and exporting again, the reason your project grows is that it keeps storing those exported versions. And there's no real way to get rid of them apart from going into the actual .band project folder and going into the export section in there and deleting out those WAV files because it stores them in there basically so that if you decided to redo it again, it's already got a copy there. It's like caching it, if you know the concept of caching. So short answer to your question is no. There's no real point or relevance in doing that because what I'm basically saying here is the same thing would be achieved as export. So if you tap on this one and you share it here and you share project, you could do that easier by tapping on it and going copy and then just pasting it somewhere else. Because that's doing the exact same thing. It's just taking that project file or folder and pasting it somewhere else. So it does keep all the audio in there, but any mix downs that are in that project folder inside the files would already be auto-normalized because they would be an exact replica of the copy of the M4A or the WAV file that you exported. I know that was like next level stuff, but yeah, whoops, wrong button. Hopefully that got there. Will it still have the multiband compressor and limiter on the master, like if you export to Mac, which does which is what, yeah. So that's the other thing. Yeah, will it have that? That's a good question. I think it does. I think it does because I think that's what happens, isn't it? When you get a project from GarageBand iOS and you open it on the Mac, it has those on there. It has the multiband compressor and the limiter, which is what does that auto normalization. And then you can turn it off, can't you? So it would have that. And yeah, because if you open the project, that's what it does. Because if you just open the audio file, it's already mixed down. So yeah, I guess that's the other way to get around the auto normalization is to open it up on Mac. Yeah, I have lots of grayed out files. Yeah, so that is a problem because GarageBand's a bit picky when it comes to the actual file types that it accepts. Alrighty. Did we get? All right, we might have to move on from there. But yeah, if I didn't get to your question, please go ahead and ask it in the comments section below. I wanted to talk about something new here. I know we're 45 minutes in and I'm getting to the feature topic. I wanted to talk about this. These are the AirPods Pro Max. Now, if you're not familiar with these or you've never considered them, It's probably the same reason as everyone else has, which is that they are pricey. So if we come over here and we look at AirPods, so let's open up my screen here and let's go shopping for some AirPods Max. Here in Australia, they are $899. In the US, you will pay the low, low price of $599. I believe, is it 5 or $499? AirPods Max price USA. AirPods Pro Max. I'll see it. I think it is either $499 or five. Yes, $599. I think. So yes, you will pay a lot for them. Now, the difference is I use these, and these are $399 Australian. Still very expensive, but less than half the price, and $249 in the US. And I've been using AirPods Pro for going on 5 years now. I absolutely love them. They have painful things like switching devices. I've got a video about how to stop them doing that. But the battery life on these things is phenomenal. I have literally never run out of battery. And look, I use them in a very particular way. I normally have one in and the other one in the case. And then when that one starts going low, because they hold charge, but the case also holds charge, I just charge the case overnight. And every day I have, and I wear these for maybe 10, 12 hours a day when I'm out walking around or when I'm just doing things, doing the dishes, listen to podcasts and listen to YouTube videos. So they get a lot of use and they're really cool. Now, the microphone quality on these isn't phenomenal. It's okay for phone calls, not much for anything else. And the noise reduction and limiting means that the few times I've used these to try and say record an idea on my voice recorder, it comes through really like wavery and glitchy and in and out. So I basically take it out and use the built-in mic if I want to get some ideas for that. So when Apple said to me, they said, Pete, we've made some improvements to the AirPods Max. Would you like to try them? I said, of course I would, because I am Mr. Guinea Pig, Monsieur Guinea Pigor. And I wanted to check them out because I've always thought it might be cool to be able to have AirPods Max because they do all the same thing. So by the way, these have two different modes. They have transparency mode, because you might be thinking, if you're walking around with earpods in, or especially with these on your head, how do you hear what's going on? Well, there's a button here, or you can hold down the button on the AirPods, and it goes from noise cancelling mode, where you can't hear anything around you. Lovely if you're on like a crowded bus and hooligans are yelling and screaming around you. And then there's transparency mode, which uses the microphones on the outside to actually pump in the environmental sound. So if I'm walking with these, you might think that I can't hear a thing, but as long as I've pressed the button and I'm in transparency mode, I can hear everything that's going on. So that's pretty cool. There's a little crown on here that you can use to answer, like start and stop things, answer phone calls, and there's a volume knob that you can turn up and down. As I'm turning it up here, I've got them plugged in, so their volume is going up and down, which I'm now hearing myself through pretty loudly. Now, to date, these have just been for listening to music. For the main reason that they were only Bluetooth when they were released, they were very much designed to be Bluetooth. But what you're probably noticing is that I got a cable dangling down from these suckers. Yeah, this is a nice braided USB-C cable, and it is actually plugged into a 1/4 inch jack. So this is the 3.5 mil. I've plugged it into an adapter to make it go into my extension cord here, and this plugs all the way around into my mixer. So normally I use my Sennheiser HD 280 Pros. I've been challenging myself to try and use these instead. The audio quality is really good. It is pretty balanced. I thought that these would have a lot more bass boost than they do, but when plugged in directly as an analog from the headphones to the mixer, they're actually pretty flat. So the proof will be in the pudding, which will be trying to use them to actually mix music and comparing these to using my Sennheisers or be using the monitor speakers I have here. And I have the very nice IK Multimedia iLoud micros here, which do a great job and are perfect for the size room that I have. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So this is the early stages of this. I don't do things quickly. Obviously, these have been out for a while. I can't tell you to race out and buy them straight away, but if these could end up being headphones that you can take on the plane, that you can stick, because they've got a very nice carry case with them. So if these could become multifunctional things, They might actually be close to worth it because you'd be able to use them for on the go with Bluetooth with your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac. You'd be able to plug them in to your mixer and use them as your monitor headphones or your regular headphones when you're at your computer terminal. And you can also, the other thing you can do is that they come with a USB-C cable. So you can actually plug them directly into your iPhone or your iPad as a digital direct connection. And this used to be okay, but it was not low latency and it was not full resolution. What they've actually done is they've just done a software update in the AirPods Pro, only the AirPods Max with USB-C, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. If you've got the old Lightning ones, for some reason, the Lightning connector does not allow for this, but they've updated these so that they now have up to 48 kilohertz and 24-bit quality sound. So I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, that was the update that they'd done. So now when you're using them via a cable, you're going to get low latency, so close to zero latency monitoring, just like you do with regular headphones, and you're going to get full quality audio resolution if you're plugging in digitally using a USB-C cable. And that's important because previously, as I mentioned about Bluetooth, if you were using, say, an on-screen app, so let's fire up the old GarageBand here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if we came here and we went to my iPad, so here's a project, right? I'll just bring the volume up here. So if I was using this and these were in Bluetooth mode, if I came in here and I wanted to say add some Alchemy synth to this, so let's fire up Alchemy, which is like a very, very cool synthesizer here, and we wanted a sound. I do like the Epic Cloud, but let's just get a soundscape. What about an ambient guitar sound? We were talking guitars before. All right, so let's just record in a part here. We hit the record button. Excuse me. It's a little bit loud. So, so you couldn't actually hear that. But what, again, you won't notice, but I definitely do, is that when I'm playing the notes, they're right on the grid. So let's play this back. So if I was using these via Bluetooth, I wouldn't be getting that low latency. There would be a delay there, and by the time I hit the note, there'd be that little part of a second that would pass by. So it is better now that you can actually plug these in and use them. So they've gone from being just a consumer product for listening to music and for audio to something that may actually be able to be used. Now, there's still problems with this. I don't love the fact that you have these cables, like they're fairly thin, and even though they're the braided cable now as opposed to the old plastic ones, they're obviously a little different to have something like this plugged in versus like a nice big thick chunky a quarter inch cable. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. Taking some getting used to not having that. So if I was Apple, I would have gone with something a bit different, like some sort of big chunky one that you could plug in that had like maybe a curly cord or at least a double thick cord here. And look, it didn't need, and the option to have it, because most of your Pro gear is going to have quarter inch as opposed to 8 inch. So your 6.35, not your 3.5 mil jacks. So just having this little thing and having to adapt things, yeah, it would have been nice to have that out of the box. So the other things I don't love about these is listening on one ear. Looks and feels very weird. So because when I'm out and about, again, I often like to have one earbud in just to be listening to stuff in mono so that I can actually hear. Even though I can put transparency mode on, I just like to have it in one ear. And I tried that with these the other day, and just walking around like this kind of felt weird. And look, I don't care what I look like, but it felt a bit weird, and it was pulling on my ear as well. They get very hot too. So no problem. It'd actually be quite nice in wintertime or if you're in a colder climate that you'd be able to wear these because they go all the way around your ear. They're closed back, which is also good for audio recording. So closed back headphones means that no audio kind of escapes, which is good. Um, and the comfort level is good, but not great. So I guess my point is they're not quite, for me, they don't have enough value to be worth the price. If you could pick them up secondhand at like two-thirds the price, yeah, now we're talking. Now we've got a bit of a deal going on. But for the time being, yeah, considering that these are here in Australia, these are 8.99, and for the Sennheiser 280 Pros that I currently use, which are too far away for me to reach, they're about 169 Australian. And I could even buy like, and the high end Sennheisers, the 650s that are similar to this, are about 500 Australian. So they're still significantly less for some pretty good quality studio monitor headphones. So I will keep using them. I'm going to persevere because, again, guinea pig Johns over here. And I will keep letting you know because if it gets to the point where I'm like, actually, I think these are kind of amazing. And the only way to know that is to use them. And that's why, even though I wasn't convinced that they would be part of my long term workflow, when Apple said, you want to try them for a couple of months, I said, yes, please. Yeah. Yeah, I do experience sweating in my ears, which is a kind of gross topic, but it's reality. So yeah, I do, and I guess that's the other benefit of these as opposed to these. You're not shoving stuff in your ear canal. You don't have the the wax problem. Should we just talk about that? So it's a lot cleaner. These are actually not too unportable. I'll just unplug them for now because once you throw them in their case, oh. Once you throw them in their case, they flatten out really nicely. But again, that's still a lot more to have in my backpack than that, right? So that's in my backpack and that's in my pocket, and they're quite hefty. So they weigh in at like I think a couple of kilograms, maybe. So yeah, they're not light, which is good because you don't want that. You've got high quality drivers in the speakers of those headphones, and they're really easy to clean because you can literally they just magnet on the ear foam pads. So replacing your foam pads is super simple, and cleaning that out and keeping it clean and dust free is actually really easy to do. So yeah, they're like I say, I know first world problems to go. Oh, I just don't know about these $800 headphones, but yeah, and exactly at $500 they best be amazing, and I don't think they're quite there. In 2025, with the current economic climate, I don't know that they're an essential buy right now. And again, I'll say that, and I said that to the folks at Apple going in. I said, look, I can't guarantee. I've never really been a fan of over-ear headphones. I will sing the praises of your $250 AirPods Pro 2 till the cows come home. I think these are genuinely for consumer listening, the absolute best in-ear earbuds or any headphones on the market, especially if you use Apple devices, and especially if you set them to not automatically connect. Yeah, can I just show you this real quick? Because if you've got AirPods and you don't know this setting, you probably know exactly what's going on here. And I'm going to have to show you this by connecting a pair. So let's connect these to my iPad. Hopefully this will work. Let's bring up my iPad here, and we will go here, and we will go to my Air USB-C pods, which are these ones. So I've got this in this ear. It'll connect. There it goes. It's connected. So if you go to your settings here, once you've connected them, you'll get this additional setting over here. So go to that one, and you got all the different settings. You can play around with these. There's lots of good stuff. You can even do a hearing test to check your hearing if you want to. So you can set everything up there. But the most important setting to change is this one. So connect to this iPad. Never have this on automatically, ever. It is not worth it. If you have this on automatic on all your devices, what happens is if you're listening on your iPhone and you walk past your iPad, it'll jump to your iPad. It'll go, oh, there's your headphones. You clearly want, even though you're listening to a song on your iPhone right now, you clearly would prefer if I change these over to the iPad. And then if you walk to your Mac, it'll go bing. It'll be like, clearly you want, yes, you've got speakers and a mixer connected to this Mac, but clearly you want this Mac to now use these piddly little AirPods instead. No, Apple. No, I do not. So by default, this is set to automatically. Go to each one of your devices and change it to when last connected to this iPad, when last connected to this iPhone, when last connected to this Mac. If you do that, it will only connect to the device if it was the last one it connected to. So what does that mean? Well, now it's connected to this iPad, but if I grab my iPhone and reconnect it to the iPhone, it will not jump back. So I've just tapped on the USB-C pods here on the iPhone. It's gone from the iPad. It's now on here. It will not switch back. It will not go back to that iPad until I manually choose to connect it. And you saw how quick it was to connect it, like 5 seconds. So I will take the 5 seconds of manual connection over having it jump around from thing to thing. So there you go. There's an additional tip if you're frustrated with your AirPods and you're like, I love them, if only they would stop bouncing between the different devices. Now you know how to fix it. And yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, it's not what yeah, I know it does. It does look like a purse. Did I mention too with iOS, by the way, the new emojis are here. So the new emojis are, I've got a link to an article down in the description of the video, but if you're on 18.4, version 18.4 or later of iOS, which I cannot get to right now. Come on, YouTube. We'll go back to here, go back to my thing. Where is my link? Yeah, this is what you come here for, isn't it? The professionalism. I don't know why I need to show you these, but I just thought I would. So we have brand spanking new. Oh God! See, now it won't even find the right thing. iOS 18.4 emojis. Let's just find the article. There you go. Here are the new ones. So what do we get? We get the country of Sork. We get a radish. We get a fingerprint. We get a very relevant for the current state of the society, which is a frowny face with bags under the eyes. We get this weird tree. We get a shovel. We get a splatter. And for our harpists out there, yes, we get a musical instrument. We finally have a harp. And my wife is still in mourning because there is still no white wine emoji. Come on, emoji group, step it up. No one drinks red anymore. It's all about the white wine. All right. There you go. See, Thomas Christ is demoing the wonderful new bags under the eyes one. There you go. All righty. That is going to do it for this one. But I do recommend, you're going to be set there anyway, but our old mate Frank Terzo runs a show called The Community Pulse. It has already started. Maybe you're double screening and watching there at the moment already. Oh, look, he's back. He's back in his Leafs jersey. Of course he is. There's our mate Frank. So on the show this week, I haven't even checked this. So we've got co-host is Chad Freeman. That's cool. There's Chad. And who is our featured channel is Baker. And our featured artist is, BOG, Brothers on Guitar. There are aforementioned brothers. So go and check out Frank. Tell him that the Leafs are going to choke. They're going to go down 4-3 to the Sens. You know it's going to happen. Don't really do that. That would be mean. But yeah, thank you. That is going to do it, my friends. Thank you. Yes, Thomas Grice getting a lot of views out of the baggy-eyed ones. We're done for the week of live shows here, but don't forget Your Music Live returns next week. We're going to have a podcast, of course, as we do each and every Friday morning or Thursday night, depending where around the world. And don't forget Thomas Christ has got 2 shows now. He's got Make It Rock and You Rock. So if you think, there's this big gap, Johns goes away for 2 days. What do I do? What do I watch? Guess what? You watch Thomas Christ. You watch Make It Rock and You Rock. So make sure you're subscribed to Thomas Christ as well. That's going to do it. Thank you to Mark and to Hugo and to Joe and Barry Glenn. Thank you, Clayton Von Kluge. There is a Community Pulse link if you'd like to jump over there. Say g'day to Frank and Chad and the brothers and tell them that Pete sent you. Very cool to have you here with us. Please, folks, this week, be kind to yourselves. Be kind to others. Godspeed to our Canadian friends and our Australian friends that people see the light and vote the right way. Otherwise, it could be a rough few years ahead. And I will see you on the next one. Keep creating, folks. Bye for now. See ya.